Welcome to NACTV Reads the News. My name is Gwen Jacobsen, and I'm one of many volunteers that help create programming for our station. NACTV can be seen on MTS Channel 30 or 1030, Westman Cable Channel 117, Bell Satellite Channel 592, or online at nactv.tv. These programs are made possible by our volunteers, staff, advertisers, as well as donations made by you, the viewers. If you are enjoying your NACTV experience, please consider supporting us by either donation or volunteering. You can contact our office at 204-476-2639 or at nactv@wcgwave.ca. So this week's edition of the Neepawa Banner and Press is dated November the 19th, 2021. And there's a beautiful picture on the very front page, lest we forget. While the official Remembrance Day service in Neepawa was moved to the Legion building, many still braved the snowy weather conditions to gather at the cenotaph in Neepawa outside the beautiful Plains County Court building on Thursday, November the 11th. Speaking of the snowy weather conditions, here's some pictures of all the snow Neepawa got. Weekend snowfall keeps plowing crews busy. A heavy snowfall between November 11th and 13th made for a busy start to the snow clearing season in Neepawa. The town of Neepawa staff and the town's two contractors for snow clearing, P. Baker Backhoe Service and Rob Smith & Son Backhoe and Trucking Limited, were out in full force over the weekend and early this week to clean up the streets. Town of Neepawa Manager of Operations Denny Segwe noted that considering the challenges posed by the weather, he was quite happy with the amount of time it took to get streets drivable again. He said one has to look at the events. Rain with heavy, wet snow are not easily cleared. It's a slower process. Add to that after the first round of plowing happened, we had areas that had to be replowed. He stated this, adding that closed highways on Friday also posed a challenge for workers getting into town to do the job. He said, I'm very pleased with our contractors and staff who worked through the weekend. The amount of time it takes to clear the town roads can vary from storm to storm, but Segwe estimated this one would take them about 4 to 5 days to completely clear the streets. Some residents may have noticed that the plows left a ridge of snow across the end of their driveway. Segwe noted that while they have snow gates on their plows that typically prevent this from happening, they couldn't use the snow gates this time because the snow was too wet and there was too much of it. Regrettably, with the amount of snowfall and its moisture content, the snow gates could not be used and residents will have to shovel out the windrows, he stated. Residents are reminded to abide by the no parking zones for the season, which include key transportation and emergency routes on and around Mountain Avenue, Hamilton Street, Mill Street, Brown Avenue, and Hospital Street between 1 a.m. and 6 a.m. These streets are the priority for snow clearing, after which the crews work their way east and west from Mountain Avenue. Residents are also reminded not to push snow from their properties onto the streets, as it impedes the snow clearing process and violates the town bylaws. Segwe asks locals to be patient with the snow clearing process, as there is a lot to contend with during storms like the one last weekend. Travel and entertainment. Neepawa will be rockin' round the river bend, a musical event being planned for next summer, by Owen Devereaux. Neepawa has a rich and varied independent music subculture. It just doesn't, for the most part, know it yet. Jeff Descender is hoping to do something about that. Descender, the owner and operator of Frozen Fire Studios have partnered with Neepawa Tourism and its Riverbend Makers Market to announce the creation of Rockin' the Riverbend. The musical showcase is being planned to run in unison with the Artisan Marketplace on July the 22nd and 23rd of 2022. Descender explained to the Banner and Press the reasoning for teaming with the Makers Market on this endeavor. Neepawa has had a great demographic when it comes to farmers, markets, and music, which are two big things in our community. So if we could tie them together, it makes for Neepawa to have one big festival that we could get a whack ton of visitors to. It would be beneficial for the community. And maybe it slowly creates almost a Lily Festival type of event that Neepawa has been lacking for many years, stated Descender. It's stepping stones. First, we had the Riverbend Market, which proved to be a real success this year. Now we have the music side, and maybe in the next year we could grow from there. Descender said that when he pitched the concept to the Neepawa Tourism Board, in which he is a member, the response was encouraging. Neepawa Tourism was all for it. We're pretty diverse individuals on the board. Some understood, and there were some that didn't understand the many variables that go through, but we're still supportive. Kelsey Wilson, Neepawa Tourism Board member and coordinator of the Makers Market, stated that they are very excited to be adding live music to the Riverbend Market. She said, "We weren't able to have live music at the 2021 market due to COVID-19 restrictions. Many people commented that they would like to see live music. As for the arrangement and structure of Rockin' the Riverbend, it will use the same grounds as the Makers Market, with a small stage in the center in place on Friday, July 22nd. The smaller, more intimate setup will feature an array of acoustic artists. Then on Saturday, July 23rd, once the Makers Market concludes in the afternoon, the musical portion will expand to feature a full stage and lighting setup and feature a more rock-oriented, full-scale show. As for just who Rockin' the Riverbend will be open to in terms of performers, Descender said it'll be inclusive. I'm hoping to spread the message to artists across Neepawa because there are tons of them out there. I've attended a lot of Arts Forward open mics, and I've seen the talent our town has to offer and really what the area has to offer," Descender said. Neepawa is a musical community, and I'm hoping to have arts acts primarily from our area. This is a showcase of what all around us and what's in us. Any interested artists looking for more information or to register can contact Frozen Fire Studios via its social media platforms or website. All right, next. Come to that after. Okay, this week Helen Drysdale's section is about venison. If you have a deer hunter in your family, here are 2 recipes to help use the bounty of the successful hunt. Slow, moist cooking is the way to go with a shoulder roast and venison stew. Come home to a hot and hearty meal straight from your slow cooker. So she has a recipe for slow cooker venison roast and venison stew. COVID-19 cases confirmed at Neepawa schools, but no close contacts identified, by Kira Patterson. Beautiful Plains School Division has confirmed that there have been 4 positive cases of COVID-19 between the 3 Neepawa schools recently. Beautiful Plains School Division Superintendent Jason Young stated that as of the morning of Tuesday, November 16th, 4 cases have been identified, 2 at Neepawa Middle School and 1 each at Hazel M. Kellington School and Neepawa Area Collegiate. The division was made aware of all of these cases on November the 11th. Jason Young stated, no close contacts were identified by public health in any of the cases due to the fact that none of the people had been in our schools in the previous 48-hour period. Therefore, no cohorts or students were placed in remote learning. Jason Young could not confirm whether any of the cases were from the same household or whether they were students or staff at the school. And now we have the Spruce Plains RCMP report by Corporal Jacob Stanton. During the week of November 8th to the 14th, Spruce Plains RCMP dealt with 46 police activities. On November the 8th, RCMP responded to a report of domestic assault in Minnedosa. One person was arrested, charged, and released with a future court date appearance. Police received a report of fraud in Neepawa where a person disclosed personal identifying information to a scammer on the phone. A large sum of gift cards was also purchased and provided to the caller, who was pretending to be from Border Services. There was insufficient evidence to proceed further. On November the 9th, RCMP received a report of threats being uttered in Neepawa. The matter is still under investigation. Police responded to a report of a firearm being used carelessly in Rapid City. Police attended, found the suspect vehicle, and completed a foot patrol, but did not locate anything concerning. On November 10th, RCMP received an anonymous tip that a stolen camper was parked at a residence in Basswood. Police attended, confirmed it was stolen, seized the camper, and arrested and charged the individual residing inside. Police conducted a COVID compliance check at a residence in the municipality of Glenella Lansdowne. All persons were found complying with quarantine regulations. On November 11th, RCMP responded to two separate abandoned 911 calls from a commercial building in Neepawa. Faulty phone lines were to blame, and both calls were determined to be false. Police were dispatched to a single vehicle rollover near Gladstone. There were no injuries. However, the highway was shut down shortly after due to inclement weather. November 12th, RCMP received a report of a stolen side-by-side in the municipality of Westlake Gladstone. The keys were left in the vehicle, and there were no witnesses, cameras, or suspects. The matter had insufficient evidence to proceed further. Police responded to a commercial alarm in Neepawa that was determined to be false. On November 13th, RCMP responded to a report of an assault at a business in Neepawa. Police attended and discovered the complainant had already left. The individual was found shortly after, and it was determined that the assault allegation was unfounded. Police responded to a hit and run that occurred in Neepawa. The suspect driver was located at their residence, where they admitted fault and was issued a ticket. On November the 14th, RCMP responded to a semi-trailer fire near Neepawa. The fire was extinguished and no injuries were sustained. Police received a report of mischief to a vehicle in Minnedosa. The vehicle had been broken into and had interior and exterior damage. There were no witnesses or cameras in the area, so the matter did not proceed. RCMP conducted 6 traffic enforcement actions during this reporting period. If you have any information about these crimes or any other crimes, please contact your local RCMP office or Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-8477. Now, in our Rural Outlook section, it says, a head start on Christmas shopping. The community of Minnedosa saw a buzz of activity on November the 6th at the Christmas market at the Conference Center in Minnedosa. Over 30 vendors were set up selling everything from decor to jewelry to bath products and more. A portion of the proceeds from the market were donated to the Minnedosan Area Food Bank. Now, another COVID-19 article. by Kira Patterson. A COVID-19 outbreak announced last week at the Third Crossing Manor Care Home in Gladstone has seen a spike in numbers over the weekend. The numbers reported on the Manitoba government website from Friday, November 12th stated that the facility had 40 cases in total, with 26 being staff and 14 non-staff. As of Tuesday, November 16th, those numbers became a total of 66 cases, with 30 staff and 36 non-staff. Of those cases, 48 were still active, 18 had recovered, and no deaths had been reported. The Winnipeg Free Press reported on Monday that the Southern Health Santé Sioux Regional Health Authority has shared that they have contingencies in place to ensure the facility is adequately staffed. However, the RHA did not specify where staff would be moved from. The outbreak in the care home coincides with high active case counts in the 7 Regions Health District, in which Third Crossing is located. As of Tuesday, November 16th, the province had reported 112 active cases in the district, which covers an area from Katrine in the south to north of Amaranth, and from just west of Plumas to Westbourne in the east. The Banner and Press reached out to Southern Health Santé Sioux on multiple occasions for comment, but did not hear back from them before the publication deadline. Well, now another article about the foundation by Kira Patterson. What is the Giving Challenge? The Giving Challenge is an annual week-long campaign through Endow Manitoba, which helps stretch donations made to a community foundation by 40%. This year, the Giving Challenge is taking place from November the 15th to the 21st. The Winnipeg Foundation and Government of Manitoba each donate $1 for every $5 donated to any community foundation's unrestricted fund or community fund during this time. So every unrestricted $5 donation becomes a $7 donation during the Giving Challenge. The Endow Manitoba Giving Challenge was established as a collective province-wide fundraising effort by Manitoba's community foundations, explained Kevin Parsons, capacity building consultant at Endow Manitoba. November 15th is National Philanthropy Day, so around that day each year, the Giving Challenge was an opportunity for the entire community foundation network in the province to promote themselves and raise funds for their ongoing work. Each year, the Winnipeg Foundation and the government stretched donations by thousands of dollars. In 2020, both the Winnipeg Foundation and the province of Manitoba each stretched the donations made during the Giving Challenge by a total of $88,563.33, combined $177,126.66, stated Parsons. Across the province, community foundations received over $1.2 million during the 2020 Giving Challenge, the largest number raised to date. The campaign has been going annually since 2014, but it has changed a bit since it started. Originally, it was known as the 24-hour Giving Challenge, and only donations made one specific day were stretched. Last year, we made the change to a week in reaction to the situation that was posed by the second wave of the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as previous feedback from community foundations, noted Parsons. Even before the pandemic, community foundations would pick and choose where to put their efforts on the one day. Then in 2020, when there was provincial guidance to greatly reduce any and all gatherings, all community foundations paid extra attention to following guidelines, with any donations being dropped off in person. Based on the volume of donations that some foundations receive, giving them an opportunity to spread the timing of drop-offs out made logical sense. and based on the success and feedback from last year, we made the decision to have it a week-long event going forward, Parsons explained. Donations given to a foundation's unrestricted fund all get invested, and interest earned from the investment is used to give out as grants within the foundation's community each year. So the initial donation made never gets used up and continues to generate funds for the community foundation in perpetuity. The best way to get the most impact from your donation is to give during the Giving Challenge time frame. All community foundations in the province can benefit from the Giving Challenge, including the foundations listed below on this page. For more information about the Giving Challenge or to find a community foundation near you, visit endowmb.org. And here we have a couple of pictures that is spotlighting the foundation. Here's the Minnedosa and District Foundation recently donated $22,500 to the Squirrel Hills Trail Project. Minnedosa and District Foundation covers the communities of Minnedosa, Newdale, Rapid City, Clan-William, Strathclair, and surrounding areas, and the years serving the community is 47 years. Approximate total distributed since inception is $914,824. And here we have a picture of the On and Knoll Foundation. The OCF Treasurer, Charlie Sansom, presents a check to Heather Howdle of the South Quill Health Area Food Bank. On and Knoll Foundation covers the communities of On and Knoll, Erickson, and Wasagaming, and the years serving the community is 37 years. And they have distributed approximately $30,000 in the past 15 years. That's great. FCC contributes $1.5 million to community projects. Submitted by Farm Credit Canada. Farm Credit Canada, or FCC, is giving $1.5 million through its FCC Agri-Spirit Fund to 88 community groups across Canada to support rural capital projects. The FCC Agri-Spirit Fund supports projects that make positive changes in rural communities, said Sophie Perot, FCC Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer. Giving is not just about making a donation, it's about making a difference. We hope all the community groups that received funding will thrive and continue their good work in their communities for many more years to come. This year, the FCC Agri-Spirit Fund awarded between $5,000 and $25,000 for various community improvement initiatives that enrich the lives of residents in cities, towns, or Indigenous communities with fewer than 150,000 people. The fund is one of the ways FCC gives back to the communities where its customers and employees live and work. Over the past 18 years, the FCC Agri-Spirit Fund has supported 1,444 projects, an annual of $18 million. The next application period opens March 1st of 2022. Registered charities, municipalities, and nonprofit organizations interested in funding can visit www.fccagrispiritfund.ca for eligibility requirements to apply online and view past projects. In Manitoba, the following recipients are receiving funding. The City of Winkler is getting $25,000 to replace the lighting in the Winkler Centennial Arena with LED lights. The RM of Springfield is getting $20,000 to replace and repair the outdoor rink lighting and rink boards. Carmen Dufferin is getting $15,000 to upgrade the arena lighting to LED lights. The Provincial Exhibition of Manitoba is getting $20,000 to paint the exterior of the fully restored display building number 2. Glenboro Agricultural Center is getting $25,000 to renovate the community hall bathrooms to make them more energy efficient and accessible. Killarney Turtle Mountain Arts Council is getting $5,000 to create accessible entrances and upgrade doors to energy efficient options. FCC is Canada's leading agriculture and food lender with a health loan portfolio of more than $41 billion. Our employees are dedicated to the future of Canadian agriculture and food. We provide flexible, competitive priced financing, management software, information and knowledge specifically designed for the agriculture and food industry. As a self-sustaining Crown corporation, we provide an appropriate return to our shareholder and reinvest our profits back into the industry and communities we serve. For more information, visit fcc.ca. And there's a picture here of Tyler Thompson, the FCC Senior Relationship Manager, presenting Sarah Smith. She is a Glenboro Ag Society Board Director with a check of $25,000. And as I said, the funds will be used to renovate the bathrooms at the Glenboro Community Hall. And here we have another picture. UCT is number 924, is donating $100 to palliative care. UCT President Jason Nadeau is presenting Mary Ellen Clark with a donation of $100 for palliative care. In the fall, UCT made a motion to donate $500 in total to 5 different local groups and causes. All right, a holiday tradition for Bus 24. Students draw spooky buses. Woo. So a bus number 24 Halloween art contest was held by Brad Mummery. He's a bus driver and an art enthusiast. Mummery organized the contest and the HMK staff judged the contest. He has held this art contest almost annually, only missing 1 year. First prize was $100 and was given to Sean Dennis, who drew this picture. And here we have a picture drawn by Haley Dennis, who took second prize and won $50. And third prize went to Liam Dennis, who earned $20. And an honorable mention went to Mila Sumner, who drew this picture and won $10. First prize winner, wow, that is a beautiful, beautiful picture. It doesn't say how old these people are, but up and coming artists for sure. And don't forget the Arts Forward is having the glorious Christmas wish sale Saturday, November 27th from 10 until 4. Admission is $3 and it will be held at the Yellowhead Hall. Plan for modular home development in Neepawa takes a step forward by Owen Devereaux. The development of more new housing in Neepawa has cleared an initial hurdle. On Tuesday, November the 16th, Town Council passed first and second reading to amend a zoning bylaw for 40 acres of land near the water tower, just west of Highway number 5 north. If the amendment passes third reading, that will allow for the creation of 140 individual lots where modular built homes would be installed. Crescent Creek Estates are the developers that are spearheading the endeavor. Project manager Warren Mills spoke on the company's behalf on Tuesday, November 16th during a public hearing on the proposal. He indicated that if it receives full approval, it would be a 4-phase project with a start time of late spring or early summer 2022. There is no current schedule for third reading of the bylaw to take place. The sale of modular homes is on the rise in many communities across Manitoba, as the style of housing is an affordable option for budget-conscious homebuyers, such as first-timers and retirees. A modular home is a house that's partially constructed in a factory and shipped to the homeowner's lot, where it's pieced together, put on a foundation, and then completed. Like traditional homes, modular homes are placed on a permanent foundation. Expanded details on the proposed development will appear in a future edition of the Banner and Press. Now we've come to the sports section. Farmers Blank Bombers by Owen Devereaux. The Neepawa Farmers penalty kill got quite the workout on Friday, November the 12th, against the Minnedosa Bombers in the Tiger Hills Hockey League. Fortunately, Neepawa's penalty kill proved to be strong enough to withstand their numerous trips to the sin bin on the way to a 3-0 victory. Over the course of regulation play, the Farmers accumulated 49 minutes on a dozen penalties, but despite finding themselves shorthanded for a fair amount of time in the second and third period, the Farmers were able to smother Minnedosa's power play efforts, surrendering only a couple of notable opportunities. The Bombers also spent some time in the box, with a combined 43 minutes in the penalties as well. The night featured one fight in the second period as Josh Blondeau and Nick Cameron dropped the gloves. Tension rose a bit more in the third after Neepawa's Lance Nugent was sent off for 2.5-minute major for a hit to the head. Fortunately, neither team decided to escalate, though some Bomber players did let the officials know verbally at the end of regulation before leaving the ice that they were not happy with how the game had been called. As for the more positive side of the stat sheet, Corbin Mariash opened up the scoring in the first with a bullet off his stick at the far end of the face-off circle in the Minnedosa zone. Braden Gillies put away his first goal of the season early in the second to give Neepawa a 2-goal cushion. Ward Susky added one more near the midway mark of the second on a power play chance. Farmers goalie Reese Jones collected the shutout with 15 saves on the night, while Devin Fordyce had 31 saves for the Bombers. And WMCI varsity volleyball team wins Zone 7 championship, and here's a little picture of them by Coach Colin Smith. Gladstone's William Morton Collegiate Institute, or WMCI Warriors, varsity boys volleyball team are Zone 7 champions. The team's hard work and dedication over the course of the season has really shown in its play lately, as they were able to go undefeated in round-robin play. After facing a tough challenge in the zone semifinal against NACI, the Warriors capped off the championship with a straight-set victory against Elton, with 4 teams from the zone being ranked in the Manitoba High School Athletic Association, their top 10. It was some very exciting and competitive volleyball. The team has been led by a terrific group of grade 12 students this year, including Riley McBride, Matthew Pierce, and Jetro Young, who have all been playing on the varsity team since their grade 9 year. Their skill, experience, and mental toughness has been a huge asset for the group. Over the course of the season, the contributions of the first-year grade 11 players have also been critical for the team's success. The progress and growth exemplified by all players in the past couple of months has been truly impressive. Next up for the team will be a regional qualifying tournament and hopefully a spot at the provincial championship. And more sports. NACI Tigers defeated by Major Pratt Trojans by Owen Devereaux. A strong start to the game could not be maintained by the NACI Tigers as they fell 8-3 to the Major Pratt Trojans on Sunday, November 14th. The Tigers scored a pair of goals just 5.5 minutes into the game, with Tarek Lapointe and Jory Kalbaki scoring. Major Pratt replied with one of its own before the end of the first. In the second period, Riley Davey scored for NACI to make it 3-1. At that point, Major Pratt shortened up the bench, which proved positive for them as they scored 7 unanswered goals. This loss dropped NACI to a 3-2-0 on the season, with Major Pratt improved to 4-1-0. And the Titans split weekend games against the Wolverines. It's become a very familiar pattern for the Neepawa Titans this season of one step forward and then one step back. This past weekend against the Wayway-Sikapo Wolverines, Neepawa repeated that pattern by splitting a pair of games against their Western Division rivals. The Titans would first travel to Wayway-Sikapo on Friday, November the 12th to challenge the Wolverines. A strong effort in the third period would ultimately help propel Neepawa to a 6-5 victory in overtime. Mitch Thiessen would close out the night, picking up the game winner in OT, giving the Titans their 6th win of the season. Will Hyatt, Dallin Wilton, Connor Brust, Braden Michalchuk, and Cameron Trimble also scored for Neepawa on the night. Wilton's markers would actually come off of a penalty shot in the second period. Interestingly enough, this would be the second penalty goal in that period, as Wayway's Caleb Petrie was given the opportunity just a few minutes earlier. Titans goaltender Emmerich Demers was credited with the win, stopping 31 of the 32 shots he faced. Demers entered the game at the start of the second period in relief of starting goalie Gavin Renwick. Wayway-Sikapo Wolverines would bounce back on Saturday, November the 13th at the Yellowhead Centre in Neepawa with a 2-0 victory. Wolverines goaltender Tresser Watton was able to pick up his first MJHL shutout, stopping all 23 shots that he faced. Emmerich Dimmers, meanwhile, still continued his strong performance on the net, stopping 24 of 26 shots that he faced. The Wolverines scored in the first period, with Josh Pepler putting away his 5th goal of the season. The second period would see no scoring, but there was a penalty shot chance for Wayway-Sikapo. Wolverines forward Adam Poplawski ended up missing his shot wide of the net. It was the 3rd penalty shot in 2 games between the two teams. In the third period, the Wolverines would add one more goal off of a turnover in the Titan zone. Carson Baptiste would take advantage, getting his 3rd goal of the season. This weekend results gave Wayway-Sikapo 3 of a possible 4 points in the standings, while Neepawa collected just 2 points. The two teams will play again next weekend, with the first game of the back-to-back in Neepawa on Friday, November 19th at 7:30 at the Yellowhead Centre. Carberry North Cypress Langford, Here and There by Gladwin Scott. Nice tribute to Muriel McPhail for her many years of leadership at a flower garden in the Carberry Cemetery by the Communities in Bloom. The United Church has gratefully accepted the donation of mitts knit by Marg Kaharski for the mitten tree on behalf of the Carberry IODE in memory of Muriel McPhail. Host Carberry Plainsmen were defeated 3-2 by Minnedosa November the 7th. The visitors scored single goals in each of the first 2 periods and directed 54 shots at netminder Connor Slip. Plainsman scoring was handled by Zane McConnell, assisted by Jackson Stevens and Josh McMillan, and Colin Van Comer, unassisted. Minnedosa got goals from Matt Saylor, Brad Lewis, and Kelly Stinson. 2 assists were added by Shane Jury. Scoro winners were Lauren Johnson Russell and Reggie Adrianson. John Davison's shootout goal in the 7th round led Carberry Plainsmen to a 5-4 win over the visiting McGregor Wildfire November the 12th. McGregor was ahead 3-2 and 4-2 at the intermissions, and the game was knotted 4-4 after regulation time. 5 minutes of exciting overtime followed with 3-on-3. 7 rounds of shootouts produced few goals as the Wild scored once and the Plainsmen scored twice. Jackson Stevens sank a pair for Carberry with assists from Zane McConnell and Tavish Quinn. Quinn added a goal. Tyson Clowett tied the game with help from Brady Laycock and John Davison. Matthias van de Woestijn was unable to score on a penalty shot. Goalie Des Ramsey played the first part of the game, and Connor Slip was super in the remainder of the match. The next Plainsman home game is Friday, November 26th at 8 p.m. against the Cartwright Clippers. Vicki Wallace of the Cartwright Southern Manitoba Review has decided that she and her newspaper will be retiring at the end of December. The Cougar Dome was the site of the Zone 7 girls volleyball playoffs November 4th. Elton Sabres, sparked by power hitter Laura Ramsey of Chater, edged Carberry in the semi-final thriller 14-25, 25-17, 15-13, and beat Neepawa in the finals to capture the zone banner. The Cougars defeated McGregor to finish third. The girls showed dramatic improvement over the course of this season. Gladstone won the boys' banner at the McGregor tournament. Boundary Trails Health Center, located between Winkler and Morden, will receive a new addition, including new inpatient beds and expanded services at a cost of $64.4 million. Westoba Credit Union has announced that it will close 3 branches located at Larivere, Glenborough, and a branch on Portage Avenue in Winnipeg on March the 4th, 2022. Westoba will then operate 13 branches across Manitoba, a corporate office in Brandon, and a virtual services call center located locally. And lastly, Blue Jay fans will be pleased that Vladimir Guerrero Jr., first baseman and designated hitter, received the Hank Aaron Award as the 2021 top baseball offensive player with 48 home runs. Wow. Now, a little bit more on Remembrance Day. This is entitled A Hero from My Youth Who Inspired Hundreds of Others, submitted by the Neepawa Banner and Press. As Canadians joined the Canadian Armed Forces of Army, Navy, and Air Force in 1939 to 1944, what or who inspired them to make this commitment that cost the life of every young man from Edrins that were involved in frontline conflict? Yes, of the 39 young men and older men that signed up from Edrins are remembered on the cenotaph at the Edrins Cemetery and on the plaque of remembrance on the wall of the Edrins Community Hall. 6 paid for freedom with their lives. My dad lost friends, but also a cousin, Bud Seaman, and a younger brother, Walter Perry Smith, the only casualty in a Lancaster bomber. As a tail gunner, he saved the life of the rest of his crew. Clarence Earl Cole, World War I veteran, who later trained as a teacher of the youth, was hired as principal and high school teacher in 1937 when the South Room was added. There, after changing Edrins from a 1-room to a 2-room education center that provided a complete grade 1 to high school education, readying the young people of Edrins for the fast-paced world of the 1940s and 50s. Clarence boarded at Deer Range Farm for some of those years, helping my father with the duties of operating a farm as Fred's parents had retired to the West Coast, New Westminster, a suburb of Vancouver, BC, in 1948. Fred, 28 years old and still not married, required assistance to look after the estate established by his grandfather, William Patterson Jr., in 1895 near the midpoint between the towns of Edrins and Firdale. Clarence later moved to Austin as a principal of the high school and organist of the Austin United Church. It was while he was playing his beloved organ at choir practice that he suffered a heart attack. Rushing to his assistance, all the choir could do was carry Clarence to the door of the United Church, as the life and spirit of this wonderful bachelor, who had devoted his life to the betterment of his community and serviced the needs of many towns, from bringing gladiola flowers to those who needed a gift of love from his garden at Deer Range Farm, to those young women and young men who needed a shining example of a man who lived his life in the service of his community, that he died that evening doing what he had done his entire life, serving the needs of others. Yes, the life of this man can be summed up by the phrase, "He made this world a better place for everyone who heard him play the organ at those many, many funerals." To many happier times at high school graduations. Clarence even inspired the youth to join the armed services in devotion to their country of Canada, a member of the British Commonwealth, a place of hopes and dreams of a better and more prosperous future that the immigrants and children or grandchildren of immigrants had been inspired to leave their old country for this new wild world that offered freedom and hope for all. God blessed all those who had an opportunity to meet him. Few people changed the direction of an entire town, but Clarence was one of those special people. A gift from God to the little town of Edrins, he will be remembered always. As long as I am alive, I promise to teach my grandchildren the values that this special human being shared in his 20-plus years of life. Submission courtesy of Robert Frederick Smith, Edrins, Manitoba. A portion of the text had to be amended to fit the available space. And here we have another Remembrance Day picture. The War Memorial in Carberry on Thursday, November 11th. Upon it are the names of 54 individuals who served in World War I. It was erected by the Imperial Order Daughters of the Empire from Carberry. And here we have a couple more craft sale pictures. The Arden craft sale had plenty of options to choose from as attendees browsed through the vendors in the Arden Community Center on October 30th. Sale items included, but were not limited to, Tupperware, homemade pickles and pickled products, handmade earrings, carvings, and more. And here's a pair of sale goers. Consider buying a carving of an owl. And here's another picture from Remembrance Day. Neepawa cadets paid their respects during the Remembrance Day service at the cenotaph in Neepawa on November 11th. It was a stormy day, but that did not stop people from showing their reverence and appreciation for those who have died in wars to keep this country free. And the Breakfast Club is back. This year's first Breakfast Club hockey session took place on Wednesday morning at the Yellowhead Arena in Neepawa. And additional details will be appearing in an upcoming section of the banner and press. Okay, Moments in Riding Mountain, The Duck Hunter by Ken Kingdon. The stats are in, and the future of hunting doesn't look too rosy. The number of new hunters is declining across Canada yearly, and the current hunters are getting older. The pattern is the same in the United States. Although rural Canadians are more likely to hunt than urban ones, the hunting fraternity, even in Manitoba, is generally older males. I'm not writing to speculate why this decline is occurring, but rather to think back to a magical time in the 1970s when my brother Tim and I were gifted with an experience of being allowed to hunt with Americans. The year was 1967 or 77. A van load of American duck hunters showed up at the farm one day looking for permission to hunt on our sloughs, but also to ask for directions for a campground. Since it was September, all the local campgrounds were closed, so my parents invited them to camp in our bale yard, north of the house. I suspect it was my dad who offered up the invitation, because even though it was a simpler, more trusting time, my mother would invite 3 armed strangers to camp in their yard? What mother would do that? Interestingly, even though this was a formative event in my growing up, I cannot remember their names or faces, but I do remember their kindness. You see, my brother Tim and I were just the right age to be bold and unabashedly curious, like pestery little brothers are. For reasons best known to them, they actually put up with us and in an informal way acted as mentors to us. In exchange for allowing us to shoot with them, we provided impromptu guiding to some of the hot spots around the neighborhood. At the time, geese were scarce, so the target of the hunts were ducks, focused on the many sloughs that peppered the area around Basswood. The Americans were well equipped, including having semi-automatic shotguns, which could fire off a mess of shells in one go. Tim and I, on the other hand, were armed with a single-shot 12-gauge and an ancient 16-gauge shotgun that popped open from time to time and whose hammer was worn smooth from countless thumbs pulling it back. I seem to remember the Americans were a bit nervous of the 16-gauge and would always make sure that they stood well away from us whenever we shot. Or perhaps they were just nervous about our general gun handling skills. On an early Saturday morning shoot, they allowed us to use their guns, but I was so nervous I basically fired off the contents of the gun's magazine into the morning mist as a brace of ducks flew by. One of the hunters leaned over and recommended that I keep my eyes open the next time. What they thought of us is also a mystery. Somehow, I suspect we kind of looked like a family of hillbillies. There would have been 5 boys and Sister Barb at home, so there would have been lots of bodies coming and going and lots of hollering, and supper time would have seemed like a scene out of the Waltons. At least we had running water in the house by then and could offer them showers. This is saying something, since they all slept in their van along with a mess of ducks that had harvested, so I suspect that things got a little smelly in there. Thinking back, I would have liked to have known more of their backstory. I seem to recall that they were from Minnesota or Wisconsin and that they came from the same hometown. However, they may have formed their friendship during the Vietnam War, as they talked about serving in the army. Which immediately brings to my mind the movie The Deer Hunter. Guys born and raised in a steel town, Vietnam vets coping with their experiences during an unpopular war. Americana at its best and worst. The movie came out in 1978, so these guys may have been living the story. One of the hunters I vividly remember had spent time in the stockade while serving in Vietnam, purportedly for throwing a hand grenade into a pond of ducks. Evidently, the authorities took a dim view of this new method of duck hunting. How long the Americans stayed, I can't even say. Perhaps just the weekend. They seemed to enjoy themselves and hinted that they might come back the next year. They didn't, of course, and the memories of the events of that autumn faded. So much so, in fact, that younger brother Tim barely remembers this entire experience. Regardless, I suspect that it did have an impact, as Tim ended up doing a lot more hunting than me after our encounter. And this is where the story ends. To come full circle, I suspect that I am part of the problem in the lack of hunting recruitment department, as I haven't been much of a hunting mentor. However, groups like the Delta Waterfowl Foundation have taken up the torch and host all sorts of mentored hunts. Somehow, though, I suspect that they lack some of the spontaneity and hijinks of a hunt with a trio of American Vietnam vets. The author of this report, Ken Kingdon, lives in Onanol. He likes to partake in a wild goose chase from time to time. All right, so the last article of the paper is an update from the Neepawa Area Health Auxiliary. The Neepawa Area Health Auxiliary, NAHA, has been in existence since 1903, 3 years before the inception of the Manitoba Association of Health Auxiliaries, MAHA, and is still going strong, as we are able during a pandemic where the MAHA is not, as it held its last convention in 2016. I am sure there has never before been the occasion where the ladies of the NAHA were not able to canvass the community for donations to help with the purchase of much needed equipment for our health facilities and programs for 2 years in a row. It is not that we could not send letters to all the businesses or even go into them now with the current health restrictions, but we know that small businesses have been struggling, just like volunteer nonprofit organizations have, so in good conscience could not do this. We are nearing the time where managers of the facilities and department managers and program managers will be making up their wish lists of needed equipment to submit to the Prairie Mountain Health Executive for the budgeting process. The NAHA has not been able to meet as a General Assembly since January 2020, at which time we approved to purchase $10,000 worth of equipment for the Neepawa Health Center alone, and the PCH gave a list of over $100,000 of equipment that would need replacing over the next few years, and would be more than grateful if the NAHA could cover the cost of any of it. Because there was no fundraising done in 2020 or 2021, they did not purchase any of that equipment. Prairie Mountain Health has 20 acute care sites, 43 personal care homes, 9 transitional sites, 1 orthopedic rehab center, and 6 primary care centers that will be submitting wish lists to them, as well as the programs like public health, home care, and mental health. You can just imagine what the total amount of requests would be for that many sites. Therefore, facilities do depend on organizations within their communities to help out with the purchase of some of the equipment, because they know chances of getting everything they wanted from the region are pretty slim. Examples of costs are: a thermoscan thermometer is $575. A stethoscope is $103. A meat slicer is $1,850. A Hoyer lift is $5,531. An electronic blood pressure machine is $3,820, etc. We will gladly accept any donations that big businesses, small businesses, individuals would like to make, and they can be sent to the Neepawa Area Health Auxiliary at Box 1461, Neepawa, Manitoba, ROJ 1HO. The NAHA does not only go out looking for funds from others. They have in the past done many fundraising projects as well. For example, they held an annual raffle, which would be drawn at their annual fall tea, which would be the wrap-up to the business canvas. They keep the cupboard at the NHC where you can buy some hygiene supplies if you came to the hospital without them, that are all donated by gracious people. There is also handmade articles in there for newborns, etc., for purchase. We had ladies assist at flu clinics, blood donor clinics when those were coming to communities, and we did work at one of the roast beef suppers at the Legion. We are an optimistic bunch and are looking forward to the possibility of being able to hold our annual general meeting on January the 11th, 2022 at 11:30 a.m. at the Legion. All attendees will need to be fully vaccinated and will have to follow all current public health orders. New members are always welcome. And we have two last little pictures. This one says, "Gifts that keep on giving." Neepawa Community Ministries Center Director Amanda Nightingale shows off one of the handmade toy planes for sale at the NCMC thrift store. The wooden toys, decor, and more on display at the thrift store are made by local woodworker Fred Quist. All of the proceeds from Quist sales go to Compassion Canada Child Survival Program. The items will be available there until December the 11th. And Tim's delivers smiles. On Saturday, November the 13th, Westman Tim Hortons owner Greg Crisanti presented a check for $9,086 to Hazel M. Kellington School Principal Alan Hankey at the Neepawa Titans home game in the Yellowhead Arena. The money was raised at the Neepawa Tim Hortons location through this year's Smile Cookie campaign. Very good. Well, that does it for this week's edition of the Neepawa Banner Press. Thank you for joining us, and please join us next week. See you then.